time to texture paint this shirt. So I don't have a clear sense of what I'm going to do here, but we're gonna be working with some kind of t-shirt, some just basic t-shirt. Let me just make sure that each part is pushing out from the model. So in the subtool palette, I'm going to make sure that I have the shirt selected. Then press Alt and move out. Yeah, like that. Alright, that'll just make it a little nicer. Find a base tone. You know, that's of course the first thing that we need to do. So let's go into the color swatch, find a basic color. Now of course the color swatch isn't going to update unless I get rid of the poly painting that's there, or just temporarily turn it off. So there, I'm going to temporarily turn it off and look for a color. And actually I'm kind of a fan of that. Looks like one of those shirts somebody'd get from Target. Do I want to change the hue? That definitely not the color I like to see zombies wearing. It's, I think, even if it was dirty, I'm not sure that would quite cut it. Yellow, no, no, no. Too much blue, yeah, definitely no. This could have so many ramifications. Little fuchsia. Let's say no. And I go a little bit towards the yellow. And do I want it desaturated? What would really exacerbate the sallowness of his skin? Would kind of a green do that? No, I think some kind of greenish yellow would do that. So I'm going to go towards yellow and towards the desaturated version. And that, I think, might exacerbate it a little. And a little lighter. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of happy with that. Fill object. My RGB is at 100, so the object is completely filled with that color. I can now come into any other color and we're good to go. So do I want to create some kind of pattern like we did down here? Totally possible. Prefacing, of course, that the texture on that minute of a level is not necessarily it's not necessarily going to be something you pull out for a normal map. There's some variance there. So right now we're getting in and sculpting, and production would require some thinking. So let's go in and add something. Why not, right? So I'm going to add, I haven't seen this one. Let's just hit OK, see what it looks like. Okay, same problem with UVs, I mean, all of that. Let's go into Edit, click. Not sure about that. We'll get this. And I'm going to lower the scale quite a bit. I'm going to increase that strength, or in this case really decrease it, and hit OK. Scale gets higher. Strength gets lower. Okay, probably wise to apply this through UVs. So why don't we see what's going to happen with that again. So I'm going to turn noise off. I'm going to go to the lowest subdivision level, so I just pressed Shift D, Z plugins, and unwrap. Again, I'm not doing anything else, I'm just unwrapping, because really my goal here is that I just get some sort of UV layout. Okay, it took about 23 seconds. Take the model all the way up to the highest subdivision level, or actually, sorry, go all the way back down. Check your UV, so go to UV map and morph UVs. Turn polyframe on. I don't know, looks fine. Morph UV is off. Go to the highest subdivision level. Let's Let's go into surface noise. So I'm going to go into edit and I'm going to say apply through UVs. Hit OK. There we go. Now we've got some work cut out for us. Drop that scale down even further. Further than that. That's too far. 0.0082. That wasn't far enough. 0.003. And I'd rather have is 0.005. There we go. And I'd rather have strength higher, and I'm going to have color blend quite far up. And you can store morph target just in case something goes weird. Apply to mesh. Okay, there we go. And one thing to note. Polygon count is not really high enough to get any of the form that we just tried to put into it. It's less than 1,000,000. So you can leave it like this. I'm going to try to leave it with this and layer another one on top of it. But I am going to delete the morph target because we're going to have to store that again. Make sure I clear any mask. Divide it once. Dividing it once will take it up to 2,000,000. I'm going to reapply the noise. So I'm going to click noise and say apply to mesh again. And now we're getting some sort of texturing on the surface. Okay, that's fine. That's all I needed, is just some sort of texturing. So now we can go in, mask by cavity. Right? Let's try clearing that mask. What happens if I set this to 15? Set blur to 15 and mask. It's kind of nice. Let's turn view mask off. And let's use a standard brush. And I'm going to use some textures here. And I'm going to use just textures you yourself can grab. Texture 22. RGB, control click to invert this mask, and then turn view mask off. And I'm going to use this to texture paint the corners. I've got to change to dot stroke. Alpha, I can turn that off. Lower my RGB intensity. And I can just go in a little bit. Just a little bit. Just give me a sense of some of the texturing here. Pull out a little bit. Okay, let's try that again. This time I'm going to set that lower. Let's set it to 2, mask by cavity. I'm going to invert it. I'm going to turn view mask off. And let's start filling it. So I've set the RGB intensity very low, and I'm just going to go fill object. It's too low. It's too much of a contrast. So click and drag in there, drag that down. And just fill that a couple of times. Okay. Standard brush, alpha 58. Control click to clear any mask. And let's go more towards white. Increasing the RGB intensity why don't we use spin rate and see what we get out of this. Another thing you can do, because you don't see effects here very quickly, you can go into brush, alpha and texture, and increase the alpha tile to something like 3. So you can use the alpha but get a broader effect. It's going to be a much broader effect, and you raise your draw size accordingly. Okay, let's hit some wear points. Treating the edges a bit differently. Emphasize the wear points. So again, the acromion process, the spine of the scapula, that's going to radiate out wear. Okay, and then same at the bottom. Okay. Let's get a rib or two in there. Okay. Alright, we got some work done on that, but in order to get that damage, I'm going to go in with spray or color spray. I'm going to go in with alpha 51, and then I'm going to basically go to red, desaturate, and darken. Or maybe let's just stick with our color and just shift the hues just a tiny bit. Okay, now our stroke placement and radius are still quite far apart. Let me invert those and just see what that does. See how it just keeps everything down in a particular region? Can always be interesting. Let's lower that RGB intensity. Okay, I don't want to hit everything with that, but let's get this. Yeah. Okay, if you go loosely, you can get some darkening patterns in there. Okay, and the other side as well. Let's go towards red, and now stroke, reduce back to their normal, 0.5, 0.25. Orientation still on. Doesn't make any difference with that alpha, but it can with this one. Really good idea to get some variety, to these shapes. Right now, that alpha, just a soft alpha, is really the primary thing they all had in common. And so now, with flat, I'm just adding more of this wear that has, it fits the pattern of the shirt a little better. Do I have alpha? Let's set alpha tile. Well, alpha tile to 3 was actually working, I think. It really helped continue that texturing of the shirt. Okay, do we want to get any specific stains on there? Let's see what this looks like. Drag rectangle, alpha 24. Let's go with some kind of dark blue. Let's turn spin off. Let's set our focal shift back to 0. And this is not a bad way to get some randomized stuff with this alpha. Okay, I don't want to do that all over. Although it does look like I am doing it all over. Let's go into colorize. Set my alpha tile to 1. And let's set to dots. And I'm going to set this to alpha 56. Okay, I just greened one area. Need that a little bluer down in the bottom. Let's see what we want to do. Bluer here as well. Redder in the corner. Stick with our yellow. I don't like that sculpt. There, that should fall straighter. Okay, and that's a lot of variety. Let's check out render flat. Yeah, that's an absolute lot of variety. What I might do now is go standard brush, and let's use this alpha 56, but I'm going to go into the alpha channel, and I'm going to go to transform, invert. So that way it's having less impact. And let's just blend all of this. So I'm going to go back into brush. I'm going to set paint mode to 1, and then just brush over the surface. Watch your RGB intensity. Mine was too low. Try to make long strokes, because I might undo this. So you don't want to have to undo a lot of steps. I just want to see how that impacts it. So let's go render. Okay, before, after. It's up to you. That's an art direction. I want somewhere in between. I think this is a little extreme in terms of its patterning in the light and the dark. So I'm just going to keep working part by part. I'll stay focused on the back for the moment. Okay, yeah, I feel better about that. And a little bit more right in the along the spine. Okay, let's check out the front. Control Z. Yeah, I like that better. So we'll call that. I think I'm okay with calling that. Saying we're done with that part of it. Not happy with the sculpt on the shoulders, but we're doing okay. So shoes, belts, laces. That's what we've got next.